Have you ever been loved so gently, so silently, that you didn't even realize it until it had already changed you? It doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't post itself online. Real love, the kind that roots itself into your bones, often doesn't announce its presence. It simply becomes a part of your breath, your day, your peace. We live in a world that confuses noise for affection. The louder someone is, the more they're believed to care. But the Stoics, those ancient guardians of inner truth, taught us otherwise. They understood that the most powerful forces in life move quietly, like gravity, like time, like love. And within this quiet force, there exists a woman. She doesn't need to declare her devotion to be devoted. She doesn't flood you with words, because she understands the language of presence, of attention, of trust. Her love is not in declarations, but in decisions, not in performance, but in presence. Seneca once wrote, "A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver." And if you've ever been truly loved by a woman who moves this way, you know her intention speaks louder than words ever could. This video is not about fairy tales. It's about real, grounded, enduring love, the kind that doesn't chase attention, but commands respect. The kind that nurtures without needing praise, that guides without seeking credit. It's about 6 quiet, powerful acts of love that women express toward their partners, not in obvious ways, but in ways that shape souls, forge resilience, and echo through time. These aren't theories. They're truths, rooted in Stoic thought, lived in real hearts, and shared today so you can recognize them or offer them in return. So if you've ever found yourself asking, "Does she really love me?" or wondering why some relationships feel like home and others like a storm, this journey is for you. Because once you understand these 6 signs, you'll never look at love the same again. And if you find yourself moved by this conversation, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. This isn't just content, it's a community. One built not on trends, but on timeless wisdom and emotional truth. So take a breath, settle in, and walk with me now into a different kind of love story. Not one built on words, but on presence. Not one shouted to the world, but whispered into the soul. Now let's begin. Number 1. She respects his silence. Some men speak in actions, not words. They return home worn from battle, not the kind with swords and shields, but with silent expectations, burdens of provision, invisible weights on their chest. And when the world has taken more than it gave, they don't always explain it. They grow quiet, withdrawn, not because they're lost, but because they're searching inward. This silence isn't distance. It's a return, a recalibration of self. The ordinary response to this kind of quiet is fear, misunderstanding, accusation. "Why won't you talk to me?" becomes a demand rather than a doorway. But a woman who truly loves, a woman whose soul has been tempered by life, whose spirit carries the strength of empathy, doesn't panic in the silence. She listens to it, because she knows silence, for a man, can be sacred. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And so does she. She doesn't need to ask why he's quiet. She doesn't try to fix the silence. She simply joins him in it, sometimes with a gentle touch, sometimes with a warm cup of tea placed beside him, sometimes with just her presence, soft, still, unshaken. She understands that not all storms are loud, that some battles are fought behind tired eyes and tightened jaws. And she respects his silence, not because she doesn't care, but because she cares in a way that doesn't violate. She knows his stillness isn't a punishment. It's a retreat, and retreats are where warriors regain their strength. This is not passive love. It is active restraint, the discipline to not invade his solitude with demands, the wisdom to know when comfort is a wordless act, the strength to sit beside a man unraveling and not unravel herself. She becomes his sanctuary, his calm. I once knew a man, we'll call him Daniel. He worked with his hands, spoke sparingly, and had a heart loyal to those he loved. After long days, he'd return home with little to say, and his partner, Lauren, never forced words from him. Instead, she'd cook his favorite meal, place it gently on the table, and sit nearby with a book in her lap. No pressure, no probing, just presence. And slowly, in that space, he found his voice. Not in haste, but in safety. Most would call it quiet. But for Daniel, it was healing. This kind of woman doesn't flinch when things go unspoken. She trusts that intimacy isn't built solely on communication, but on comprehension. She reads the room, feels the tension, senses the inner world he won't always articulate. And instead of interrogating it, she respects its rhythm. Psychologists have long understood that men, when emotionally overwhelmed, often turn inward. It's not a flaw, it's neurological. Men tend to process stress through compartmentalization. When pressured to verbalize too soon, they shut down even more. But when given space, when shown trust in that quiet, they eventually re-emerge with clarity. She knows this, not because she read it in a textbook, but because love taught her to listen deeper. True love isn't always spoken. Sometimes it's witnessed. In the way she doesn't fill the air with noise when he's quiet. In the way she doesn't take his silence personally. In the way she says, without words, "You are safe to be where you are. I'm not leaving." And in return, he begins to let her into places he's never shown anyone. Not because she pried, but because she waited. With grace, with poise, with the confidence of someone who isn't afraid of shadows. Because she carries light. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And this kind of woman brings colors that heal. In his silence, she doesn't see rejection. She sees reflection. And she paints her love in shades of trust, patience, and quiet loyalty. Now, let's be clear. Respecting a man's silence doesn't mean enduring emotional neglect. It's not about disappearing your own needs. It's about understanding the difference between solitude and stonewalling, between intentional quiet and emotional shutdown. And that discernment, knowing when to hold space versus when to speak truth, is what makes her love rare. She knows when to sit in stillness, and she knows when to gently say, "I'm here when you're ready." This balance, this dance of presence and patience, is one of the rarest acts of love a woman can give. And it's one that transforms not just the man, but the relationship itself. It becomes a place where both can breathe, where silence is not an enemy, but a companion, a sacred pause that prepares the heart for deeper connection. Because in a world that constantly demands noise, the woman who knows how to honor stillness becomes unforgettable. So if you've ever felt unseen in your silence, if you've ever longed for a love that doesn't fear your quiet but respects it, then know this. She exists. And if you're with her, cherish her. Because a woman who respects your silence is a woman who understands your soul. And that kind of love, it doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It waits. It listens. It stays. Number 2, she remembers the little things. Love doesn't always come wrapped in grand gestures. Sometimes it arrives as a small note tucked inside a lunch bag, a gentle hand brushing dust off your jacket, a song playing in the car you forgot you once mentioned. Real love, especially from a woman who truly sees you, often lives in the quiet world of details, the small things that feel small to everyone else but mean everything to you. It's easy to overlook the significance of memory in love. But when a woman remembers the little things, not just the important dates or the obvious favorites, but the fleeting comments you barely recall saying, it's more than attentiveness. It's emotional attunement, a kind of love that listens with intention, that stores your words like treasures, that turns memory into meaning. Imagine this. A man once told a story, half laughing, about how as a child, he loved collecting blue pens. Said it reminded him of his father, who used to write poems in a blue journal. He shared that memory in passing, over coffee, not thinking twice. Months later, on a day when everything seemed to fall apart, he lost a client, got into an argument, and felt the old grip of self-doubt wrapping around his chest. He came home to find a box on his desk. Inside, a vintage blue pen and a note that simply read, "For the words you haven't written yet." He didn't cry because of the pen. He cried because someone heard him. The Stoics teach us that love isn't proven in noise, but in consistency. Seneca once said, "Love in its essence is spiritual fire." But fire doesn't just consume. It warms. It lights. It reveals. And when a woman remembers the smallest flickers of who you are, your fears, your quirks, your dreams, you feel seen in a way that even mirrors can't offer. Because to remember is to honor. And a woman who remembers your details is a woman who holds your story as sacred. This kind of memory is not about control or people-pleasing. It's not a performance of perfection. It's a quiet devotion, a presence so tuned into your essence that even your silence leaves echoes in her mind. Psychological studies show that strong relationships are often defined by responsive listening, the act of absorbing, validating, and acting on a partner's emotional cues. But love that listens also remembers. And that memory becomes the fabric of connection, the thread that weaves two lives into one. There's something deeply human about wanting to be remembered, not in the history books, but in someone's heart. We all carry that silent hope. I hope someone remembers the little things about me, because that's where I truly live. And when she does, you start to believe again in your own worth. A man doesn't need a woman to memorize his resume. He needs her to remember the night he almost quit, the smell of his childhood home, the way his voice changes when he talks about what he loves. He needs her to remember not just what he does, but who he is. And she does, not out of obligation, but out of reverence. She remembers the way you drink your coffee, not because it's impressive, but because it matters to you. She remembers the dreams you whispered in half-sleep, the way you tense up when you're stressed, the fact that you always watch the credits at the end of a film because you say, every name mattered. She remembers, and in that memory, she reminds you, you matter, too. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." But it's not only our actions that echo, it's our words, our moments, our fragments. And a woman who echoes those fragments back to us, through actions, gestures, smiles, becomes a mirror for our truest self. In a world that often forgets, she chooses to remember. And in doing so, she rewrites the way we see ourselves. This is no ordinary affection. It's not loud. It's not boastful. It doesn't need to be paraded. It's the love that shows up in the smallest acts, in the most ordinary moments, yet leaves an extraordinary mark. I once heard of a couple who had been married for over 30 years. He fell ill. Memory began to slip from him. Names, places, even the shape of his own face in the mirror. But every morning, before he forgot, he'd look at her and whisper, "You're the one who remembered me." And that was enough. So if you've ever known a woman who remembers your little things, honor her. If you are that woman, thank you. You're doing something sacred. Because love that remembers the little things, that's the kind that lasts. That's the kind that doesn't just witness your life, but memorizes it. Number 3, she defends him when he's not around. There's a kind of loyalty that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask for praise. It doesn't wait for recognition. It simply stands, firm, unshaken, especially when no one is watching. When a woman defends the man she loves behind closed doors, when she guards his name in conversations where he's not present, she is practicing one of the purest, most profound forms of devotion. Because real loyalty, true, soul-rooted loyalty, isn't proven when things are easy. It's revealed when his reputation is on the line and he isn't around to defend himself. Imagine this. He's not in the room, but someone makes a sly comment. A jab disguised as a joke. A remark laced with mockery, perhaps about his job, his appearance, or even his past mistakes. Most would laugh awkwardly or stay silent, thinking it's harmless. But not her. She smiles softly, but her eyes sharpen. And then, in the gentlest but most unshakable voice, she says, "He's worth more than that. And if you knew him the way I do, you wouldn't speak so carelessly." That moment, that's where love becomes armor. Because she isn't defending his ego, she's defending his dignity. She's reminding the world that the man she stands beside is more than their shallow observations. She's guarding his name the way a warrior guards sacred ground. Seneca once wrote, "Loyalty is the holiest good in the human heart." And he was right, because love without loyalty is just affection. But love that shows up when no one else does, that's legacy. There's something rare about a woman who speaks of you with honor when you're not there to hear it. Who doesn't just praise you to your face, but protects you behind your back. That kind of woman isn't just your partner, she's your shield. And you might never know the full extent of what she's done. You won't hear the full version of how she shut down a conversation at work when someone questioned your integrity. You won't know how she corrected her own family when they doubted your intentions. You won't see the times she bit her tongue when others wanted her to gossip about your flaws. But you'll feel it. You'll feel it in how safe you are with her. In how you begin to drop your guard, not out of weakness, but out of trust. Because when a man knows that the woman beside him won't let others dismantle his name, something inside him begins to rest. There's a quiet kind of love in that. A love that doesn't flinch at the opinions of others. That doesn't join the chorus of judgment. That doesn't trade intimacy for popularity. I once met a couple at a retreat, James and Maria. James was a quiet, hard-working man who'd built his life from nothing. At the event, someone laughed about the old truck he drove, implying he couldn't afford better. Without a second of hesitation, Maria looked them in the eye and said, "That truck got him through every storm and paid for our first home. That truck is a badge of honor." And just like that, James didn't need to speak, because Maria had already spoken with more power than 1,000 words. That is love with a spine. And yet, this kind of loyalty isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It shows up in silent rooms, in quiet corrections, in private refusals to entertain disrespect. It's the kind of loyalty that bends the atmosphere, that shifts the tone of a conversation, not through aggression, but through presence. Marcus Aurelius taught us that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. And this applies here, because when others seek to diminish the one you love, you don't stoop. You rise. You respond with dignity, with calm, with truth. That's what she does. Not to provoke, but to protect. Some might say it's just words. That letting people talk isn't a big deal. But that's a lie, because our words create climates. They shape perceptions. And when someone speaks poorly of the person you love, it plants seeds of doubt, even if only subtly. But when she speaks up, when she gently but firmly says, "That's not who he is," she clears the soil. She removes the weeds. She guards the roots. And that's the kind of garden love needs to thrive. This kind of woman doesn't do it for validation. She doesn't tell you about it later so you'll praise her. She does it because that's who she is. Her loyalty isn't a performance, it's a principle. And in a world that glorifies self-interest, finding a woman who's loyal in your absence is like finding shelter in a storm. You may not see the walls around you, but you know you're safe. You know you're held. You know you're home. So if you've ever been defended by a woman when you weren't there to hear it, don't take that for granted. That kind of loyalty is rarer than diamonds. It's forged in character, not convenience. And if you're that woman, know this: you're doing sacred work. You're building something that doesn't just protect a man's name. You're protecting his heart, his hope, his belief that he's worthy of being stood up for. Because every time you defend him, you're not just speaking to the world, you're speaking to his soul. And what you're saying, without saying it, is this: I see you. I choose you. Even when you're not in the room, I still stand with you. That is a love that cannot be shaken. Number 4, she celebrates his wins like they're her own. A man stands before the world, triumphant. The promotion, the personal milestone, the long-fought breakthrough, it's finally his. Applause surrounds him, congratulations flood in. But in the background, just beyond the noise and the limelight, stands a woman whose joy quietly eclipses his own. She's not clapping because the world is. She's not smiling because it's expected. She's celebrating from a deeper place. Because to her, his win isn't just his, it's theirs. You see, anyone can cheer for you when it's convenient. But when a woman truly loves you, your success becomes her celebration, your growth becomes her gain, and your evolution becomes her emotional victory. There's a unique kind of beauty in the way she lights up, not for recognition, but because she knows how much it took for you to rise. She saw the sleepless nights, the self-doubt, the setbacks. She held you steady when you questioned yourself. And so, when the world sees a man who just made it, she sees the journey no one else saw. Seneca once said, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." And gratitude, in love, isn't always spoken, it's felt. She doesn't need a trophy to feel accomplished. His fulfillment is her reward. His breakthrough becomes the proof of her faith in him. I remember hearing about a woman named Elena. Her partner, Marcus, had dreamed for years of opening his own art gallery. But life kept getting in the way: financial struggles, unexpected losses, moments when hope nearly gave out. Elena stayed. She encouraged, supported, believed, even when he didn't. When Marcus finally opened his doors to the public, everyone was congratulating him, calling him brilliant, visionary, the man of the hour. But Elena? She just stood in the back, tears in her eyes. She didn't need to be on stage, because her heart already knew. She had walked every mile of that road with him. That is celebration in its truest form. It's easy to confuse performative support with real emotional investment. But there's a difference. The one who posts your accomplishments for clout is not the same as the one who prayed for them in silence. The one who pops champagne isn't always the one who carried your burdens when no one else could see them. The woman who celebrates your wins like they're her own doesn't do so out of obligation. She does so out of alignment, because she's emotionally intertwined with your journey. She was never just a spectator. She was part of the building process. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "What is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee." And the reverse is also true. For a woman like this, your joy is her nourishment. Not because she has no life of her own, but because her love is expansive. It includes you, your dreams, your success, your light. Psychologists call this positive emotional contagion in close relationships. It's when your emotional highs are felt by your partner as if they were her own. But this kind of response isn't common. It comes from emotional maturity and true empathy. She doesn't envy your growth. She contributes to it. She doesn't feel threatened by your power. She helped you find it. And she doesn't fear your wings. She helped you build them. This kind of love doesn't compete. It complements. It's not looking for balance sheets of who gave more. It's not keeping score. Because to her, your elevation is her return on emotional investment. She knows that real love isn't transactional. It's transformational. I once watched a man receive an award for his work in the community. The cameras were flashing, reporters asking questions. But all he could do was look toward the side of the stage where his wife stood. Later he said, "She built me from the inside out." All of this, it's just the outside catching up. That is what it means when a woman celebrates your wins like they're her own. She isn't proud of you. She's proud with you. She doesn't feel like an accessory to your greatness. She feels like a partner in it. And when the world forgets the struggles behind the spotlight, she never does. She remembers the long nights, the quiet doubts, the small steps. She doesn't need a stage to celebrate. Her soul already sings. This kind of love isn't loud. It's layered. It's not about posting or praising publicly. It's about being so attuned to your success that her entire spirit rises with it. She doesn't cheer because others are watching. She cheers because she's been watching all along. There's no envy in her gaze. No "what about me?" lingering in her heart. Because her love isn't waiting for a return. It finds fulfillment in your rise. So when she claps the loudest, it's not from the front row. It's from the place that mattered most. Beside you, behind you, beneath you. Wherever you needed her to be when you couldn't stand alone. That's the celebration that counts. So if you are loved by a woman who celebrates your wins like they're her own, don't just thank her. Rise with her. Bring her with you. Not out of duty, but because you know you didn't get here alone. And if you are that woman, know this. Your love is not invisible. Your presence is not unnoticed. Every time you smile at his joy, every time you cheer in silence, you are building something eternal. Because the woman who celebrates a man's wins as if they were her own is not just in love. She is love. Number 5, she challenges him to grow. There is a kind of love that doesn't just comfort you, it calls you out. It doesn't just stroke your ego, it sharpens your edges. It's the love that looks into your eyes, not to flatter, but to reflect the man you were born to become. This love does not fear your discomfort. It demands your evolution. When a woman truly loves a man, she doesn't just accept his potential, she activates it. She sees through the noise of his excuses, past the smoke of his distractions, and into the fire of what he could be. Not to shame, not to control, but to awaken. And that awakening? It can feel like a storm at first. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And the woman who loves you in this way isn't interested in endless debates or passive tolerance. She's interested in motion, in watching you rise above the version of yourself that settles, avoids, or deflects. She knows there's more in you, and she refuses to let you forget it. Imagine a man stuck in a pattern. He's brilliant but distracted, driven but inconsistent. Every time he starts to gain ground, he self-sabotages through laziness, through comfort, through fear dressed as logic. Many would leave. Some would ignore it, but not her. She stands beside him, eyes steady, voice calm, and she says, "You're better than this." Not in anger, in conviction, because she's not trying to make him into something he's not. She's trying to bring him back to who he truly is. This is not nagging. This is not manipulation. This is not trying to remake a man into an image that pleases her. No, This is reverence for the man he already is beneath the hesitation. This is sacred confrontation, a challenge born from care, not control. I once met a couple, Devin and Simone. Devin was in a rut. Every day, he came home from a job he hated, numbed himself with television, and called it peace. Simone watched for weeks, lovingly, silently, until one night, she turned off the TV, looked him in the eye, and said, "You told me you wanted to write a book. I haven't seen you touch a page in months. Don't let comfort steal your calling." He was stunned, defensive at first, but beneath that, relief, because someone still believed in the version of him that tried to vanish. And that's the gift of a woman who challenges you to grow. She never stops believing in the man you're meant to be, even when you do. This kind of love is rare. It's not passive. It's not soft-spoken all the time. It's fierce. It demands truth. It holds a mirror to your patterns, not to belittle, but to break you free. Because as Epictetus reminded us, no man is free who is not master of himself. And she wants you free more than she wants you comfortable. She wants you awake, alive, engaged, not because she needs you to be perfect, but because she refuses to love only the parts of you that are easy. And when she calls you out, she doesn't do it to humiliate. She does it quietly, with care, with timing. She waits for the moment your spirit can hear it. And then she speaks, not with shame, but with sacred responsibility. She is not intimidated by your defensiveness. She's patient with your process, but she will not co-sign your stagnation. Because love, in its highest form, is not enabling. It's empowering. There's a lie many men have swallowed, that to be loved means to be accepted without challenge. But that is not love. That is comfort. And comfort is not where men are forged. Growth is. And growth, by nature, is uncomfortable. She sees you dragging your feet, and she says, "Enough." She watches you procrastinate your dreams, and she whispers, "Start." She sees you settling for less, and says, "More is in you." She is not criticizing. She is calling. And here's what most miss. When a woman challenges a man, she's risking something. His anger, his rejection, his defensiveness. But she does it anyway, because her love is braver than her fear. She would rather speak the hard truth than watch you become a watered-down version of yourself. And if you have ears to hear it, you'll thank her. Because the truth is, no man becomes great without discomfort. And the woman who loves you enough to be your mirror, who reflects both your greatness and your gaps, is a partner worth fighting for. Psychologists call this positive confrontation, a form of relational intimacy where growth is nurtured through honesty, not flattery. But ancient Stoics understood it long ago. Friendship and love must include truth, not to condemn, but to elevate. So when she says, "This isn't you," she's not attacking. She's remembering. She's recalling the fire she saw in your eyes when you first dared to dream. She's holding on to your blueprint when you've lost sight of it yourself. And when you finally rise, when you step into that better version of yourself, you won't remember the nights she stayed quiet. You'll remember the moment she challenged you to return to your own potential. Because that was the turning point. That was the moment love became a forge. So if you have a woman who calls you out, who calls you higher, who doesn't let you shrink, don't resist her. Don't push her away. Thank her, rise with her, and become the man she already sees. And if you are that woman, if you love someone enough to challenge him, know this: you are rare. You are sacred. You are shaping the future not with force, but with fire. Because the love that says, "You're already enough," is comforting. But the love that says, "You were made for more, and I'm not letting you forget it," that love is divine. Number 6, she prays, dreams, and plans with him. Not all love exists in the now. Some love lives ahead of its time, in dreams yet realized, in goals still unspoken, in futures that haven't fully arrived but are already being built. And there is a unique grace in a woman who not only loves you today, but who prays, dreams, and plans with you for what lies ahead. This kind of love is not impatient. It is intentional. It moves with the wisdom of a builder, not a buyer. She is not with you for the moment. She is with you for the mission. When she prays with you, it isn't just religion, it's alignment. A sacred union of spirit and vision. It's her way of saying, "I'm not just here for what you have. I'm here for what we're becoming." Her faith is not blind, it's focused. She sees the man in front of her, yes, but she also sees the man he's becoming, the life they're creating, the path they're walking together. And she's already laying stones for that road. In the quiet morning light, while others are still asleep, she's scribbling down financial plans, dream home sketches, names of future children. Not because she's forcing a timeline, but because her love has already taken root in tomorrow. This is not fantasy. It is foresight. Seneca once wrote, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." And this woman doesn't wait for life to hand her happiness. She builds it, thoughtfully, side by side, with you. I once heard a story about a man, Caleb, who always talked about wanting to start his own carpentry business. For years, it was just a dream, something said over dinner or during a long drive home from a frustrating shift. Most people brushed it off, but his partner, Naomi, didn't. Unbeknownst to him, she started saving a little every month, skipping luxuries, researching business licenses, collecting tools at flea markets. On his birthday, she handed him a small wooden box. Inside, a savings envelope, a list of startup contacts, and a handwritten note. "It's time to build the life you've dreamed of. I've already started." He didn't cry because of the money. He cried because someone believed in the unseen part of his life, enough to act on it. That is what it means to pray, dream, and plan together. It's not just saying, "I love you." It's saying, "I believe in us." It's not just wishing for good things. It's quietly preparing the soil. Marcus Aurelius said, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." A woman like this doesn't just look into herself. She looks into both of you. She finds strength not only in who she is, but in who you are becoming together. This kind of woman doesn't just ask, "Where do you want to be in 5 years?" She asks, "How can I help you get there?" She listens when you talk about retirement, about travel, about breaking generational patterns. She notices the excitement in your voice when you talk about buying land, or opening a school, or leaving a legacy. And instead of waiting for those dreams to die in your diary, she picks them up and breathes life into them. This is love with vision, with intention, with strategy. She doesn't fear the future because she's part of designing it. Her love is not passive, it's participatory. And in a world that often glamorizes spontaneity over sustainability, her planning might seem too serious. But the Stoics knew better. They believed that discipline was freedom, that preparation was peace, that clarity about your path brought calm to your soul. And so she prepares, not out of anxiety, but out of love. Psychologically, couples who co-plan, co-vision, and co-create tend to have longer-lasting, more fulfilling relationships. Because dreams, when shared, become more resilient. And when hardship comes, as it always does, those who've planned together endure together. This doesn't mean she controls the direction. It means she walks beside you, compass in hand. It means her dreams don't compete with yours, they intertwine. It means when you speak of purpose, she listens not to respond, but to remember, to support, to integrate it into her plans. And sometimes, the most powerful thing she does is pray, not as ritual, but as rhythm. When you're low, when you're lost, when you doubt yourself, she bows her head in private and whispers your name. Not to change your fate, but to anchor her faith. Because she knows that no matter how strong a man is, there are days when even he needs someone to carry the vision when he can't. And she carries it, not with pressure, but with promise. If you've ever stood beside a woman like this, you know the peace she brings. It's not flashy. It doesn't always come with speeches, but you feel it in how grounded you are, in how you begin to think more clearly, speak more purposefully, plan more boldly, because she's with you, not just for who you are, but for the life you're building together. So when she asks about your dreams, don't shrug it off. When she shows you a budget spreadsheet, don't mock it. When she lights a candle and prays over your business idea, don't dismiss it. Because she's not just being extra, she's investing in you, in your union, in a life that's not yet visible, but already sacred. If you are loved by a woman who dreams with you, plans with you, prays with you, know this: you are not walking alone. You are walking with someone who sees beyond the present moment. You are walking with someone who builds not just memories, but legacies. And if you are that woman, you are the blueprint. You are the steady hands. You are the unseen architect of a future most people only wish for. Because love that looks ahead, that's the love that lasts. By now, you've seen her. not in magazine covers or loud declarations, but in the quiet corners of your own memory. The woman whose love doesn't need to be explained because you feel it in your bones. The one who respects your silence, remembers the small details, defends your name in rooms you've never entered. The one who celebrates your wins like they're her own, challenges you toward greatness, and prays over the life you're both trying to build. That love, it's not fragile. It's not fleeting. It doesn't shout or seek attention. It endures. It strengthens. It guides. And if you're lucky enough to be loved like that, you'll know. Not because she says it over and over, but because it becomes a kind of peace you carry with you into the world. The Stoics would tell us not to be distracted by appearances, but to look at the essence of things. Epictetus wrote, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In love, too, we must ask, not just what kind of partner we want, but what kind of partner we're willing to become. Because the truth is, the love you long for might already be beside you, in the form of quiet gestures, consistent loyalty, and invisible prayers. The kind of love that many overlook because it doesn't demand to be seen. But that's the essence of Stoic love: firm, faithful, rooted in virtue rather than performance. If you've recognized these signs in someone you love, honor them. Not with grand gestures alone, but with your presence, your patience, your partnership. Because a woman who loves like this deserves to be met with equal depth. And if you haven't found this love yet, don't despair. Become the kind of person who can receive it. Build the kind of character that such love is drawn to, not through manipulation, but through mastery, through stillness, through becoming someone who values silence, substance, and soul over spectacle. As Marcus Aurelius said, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to love. That's what this is about. Not just identifying the love that is real, but becoming worthy of it. So if this video stirred something in you, leave a comment below. Share your own story. Honor someone you've loved or who loved you in this quiet, rare way. And if you found value here, subscribe to Stoic now. This is a space for reflection, for growth, for honoring the kind of love that doesn't scream, but stays. That doesn't demand, but gives. That doesn't waver, but deepens. Because the greatest loves aren't always the loudest. They're the ones you feel in the stillness, long after the room goes quiet. They're the ones that leave you stronger, more centered, more whole. So take a moment now, breathe deeply. And if you're walking this journey with someone whose love feels like peace, hold them closer. Because that kind of love, that's Stoic, that's sacred, and that, my friend, is rare.